Welcome to the CrossFit Max podcast.
What is going on, beautiful people, and thank you for tuning in. If you were here with us in the last episode, we talked about beginners becoming intermediate athletes, and in this episode, we're going to talk about the attributes that an advanced athlete has compared to an intermediate athlete. So we hope that you get some good value. We're stoked for you to listen, and we'll catch you inside. Let's go. Are you ready, my darling?
I was born ready.
Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. We're in it.
Win it.
By in it, I mean we're back in the kitchen studio.
It's the home studio, okay? It's
Home
a multi-purpose
studio.
room. Most people call this a kitchen island. We call it podcast studio 2.0.
Hope everyone is having a fantastic day.
I hope everyone had a good Easter weekend.
Oh, yes, indeed. And hopefully everyone ate just a little bit of chocolate.
Oh my God, I have a confession.
Maybe lots of chocolate.
Wait, you just reminded me I have a confession to make.
What is this confession, my darling?
So this evening on the Easter Monday, I had a client at the gym, but the gym was closed.
Yeah.
And I went to the gym for like 6:30 to see my client, but it was just me alone in the gym. Waiting for my client. He was on time though. I was just early.
What did you do minutes before? Tell us.
There was a chocolate sheep on the fridge. I ate it.
I noticed that. I thought it was yours. Was it not yours?
Well, Daphne had texted me on Sunday. She came up with an Easter basket for all the members, which was super cute and I loved it.
Yeah.
Anyway, she texted me. She's like, "Did you leave your chocolate sheep?" And it wasn't mine because I had already eaten mine. So I knew that it wasn't mine. And I was like, "No, I don't think it's mine." Like knowing full well that it was totally not mine. Anyways, it was on the fridge when I got to the gym this evening and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm eating this.
Nice.
So I had a chocolate sheep.
Wow. Well, we're on
delicious.
the subject of you being naughty. Let's talk about...
I wasn't naughty.
Let's talk about your big birthday weekend coming up. The big 3-0.
I can't believe it. I'm actually going to turn 30. I thought the day would never come.
Welcome to your 30s, love.
Not yet.
I still got a few more days.
I got like 5 full days of my 20s left.
So Susie's turning 30 on April 26th.
Yes.
Just in case y'all didn't think I knew it.
He knew it. So yeah, it's my birthday on Saturday. Yay.
Well, since we'll do a little banter topic here, we'll keep it within a few minutes. What have you enjoyed the most from your 20s? Give us 30 things. No, I'm kidding. What are like a few things that you enjoyed the most from your 30s? Try to think early on.
20s?
20, excuse me. Try to think early 20s all the way to the end here.
Oh my God.
To the last coming seconds.
Having no responsibilities.
Yeah.
I'm thinking early 20s,
Early 20s. What does that mean though? Everyone has responsibilities, whether that's school.
Okay. Having no children or husband.
Okay.
Or career that I cared about. So I just had a job I didn't care about. So
yeah. Okay. Gotcha. That was a freeing moment in your life.
I think I only appreciate it in hindsight though. Like when you're living it, you're like, I hope I meet a nice boy and I get a family one day. But then in hindsight, I'm like, wow. The freedom I had. No, I love my 20s. I feel like I really enjoyed all of the moments. I lived in the city and I got to like go through the party phase, even though I feel like Gen Zs don't party, but millennials, we did. And I lived it to its fullest. And then the best thing about my 20s was meeting you, my dear.
Oh, wow. Cheesy.
I think I was 23 when we met? I think
23. Holy smokes.
That's crazy. I was just a baby.
That's actually wild.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy to think about that. Pretty much you and I were together most of my 20s.
For some reason, I was expecting like many, many years of you just, or talking about yourself in your 20s by yourself. And then.
No, I pretty much met you right away.
That's crazy. We've been together for most of your 20s.
Yeah. And meeting you was the best thing that ever happened to me. Wow. And then obviously we started a family in my 20s. That was like the tail end. But I feel like it was a very transformative decade. I went from like lost single party girl Suze into wifey with a baby.
Yeah.
And a business owner.
Yeah. Wow.
Pretty transformative.
Yeah.
Would recommend 10 on 10. 20s were awesome.
20s were awesome. 30s have been great for me. I'm a year
I mean,
and a half
it's not
in.
about you right now, actually.
30s are going to be great for you as well.
I'm really excited about 30s. I feel like it feels stable heading into my 30s.
And I think Sylvain's turning 60.
Poor Sylvain, he can't catch a break, man.
I think he was really soon, actually.
Very soon.
I think it's early May.
Yeah, I believe because last year he went to Greece for his birthday, right?
Yeah. I think he was saying that you're turning 30 and he's turning 60. So you guys are exactly 30 years apart.
Aw, 20, double my age.
Shout out to Sylvain turning 60 soon.
Well, how did you, let me have my one moment. It's not about you right now, Sylvain. You get another month. It's about me.
What are you looking forward to the most in your 30s?
I'm looking forward to growth.
Whoa, deep.
Growing
In what way? What does that mean? Growth mentally, emotionally?
I feel like
physically? Or going to get bigger?
Yeah. I feel like I'm going to be the fittest I've ever been, the richest I've ever been, the smartest I've ever been. And I can't think about it right now, but I definitely think we will have another child. Yeah. So the busiest I've ever been.
Mm-hmm. What are the things that you feel like you're going to do to impact that growth?
What I'm doing right now.
What are you doing right now?
I'm crushing my workouts 6 days a week.
Yeah.
I'm crushing motherhood. Cooked a whole new recipe tonight on the chicken. Crushed it.
Yeah, it was freaking delicious. You want to tell them really
Whipped
quick?
it together real quick. Just like literally
Greek yogurt on chicken
Greek
breast?
yogurt, lemon juice, garlic, and like some other spices and stuff on chicken breast in the oven. It was like so easy. It was like embarrassing that I haven't done it before.
It was really good.
Anyways, I feel like, I think, you know what I think it is? The older you get, I feel like the more confidence you have, the more like, fuck it, let me just try something and see what happens. You don't feel so limited by your own beliefs.
You give less fucks. There we go.
Yeah, but I think that helps a lot, like I'm not hard on myself like I was I'm not even 30 yet, but I feel like I'm just growing out of being worried about what other people think, and I'm growing into being self-assured and just trying stuff. And when they say fuck around and find out,
yeah,
that's what we're doing.
Nice. Can't wait to be a part of that with you in your 30s.
Hell yeah.
We're also going to grow together.
You're going to be with me my whole 30s.
All of them.
Here we go, honey. We're coming up on a decade together.
The question is, will I be around for the 40s? But stay tuned and find out.
Statistically speaking, most divorces happen in like the first 2 years, and we're going on 4 years married, so we're pretty good.
Congrats, we did it.
and I think like the first year of your kid's life. So once he turns 1 in June, you're pretty much stuck with me forever.
We still got 2 months to go.
Yeah. Anything could happen, guys.
The inside joke with Susie and I is that before meeting Susie, I was in 2 4-year relationships.
Big 4-year guy.
Two obviously separate. And then once Susie...
Not at the same time.
Not
yes,
at the same
correct.
time, yeah.
Consecutive 4-year relationships.
Yeah. And the funny thing is when we finally hit 4 years, Susie was like, all right, I made it.
Thank God I made it. I was worried. You know what's funny? My first boyfriend and I were together for 4 years also.
4 years might be the marker.
I feel like when you're young, 4 years is a really long time.
Yeah. And here we are, 7 years almost.
Yeah, today you were like, we've almost been together 6 years. And I was like, 7.
How many years have we been married? 3? 3.
We're coming up on 4
4
this summer.
Exactly. So.
Yeah, exactly. You had no idea.
So I said 3 together.
When were we married? What's the date of our wedding?
The 15th of August, 2021.
Good job.
And the hard part about it is remembering the date we opened the gym.
Yeah.
And that
which was?
The 19th of August. Of August in 2022. Excuse me.
2.
Yeah.
2022, correct.
So yeah, a lot went on in that period of time towards the end of your 20s for sure. Marriage, opening a business, having a kid.
Baby.
That's a lot. Anyways.
Crushed it.
Happy early birthday, my love.
Thanks, honey.
What are you doing for your birthday? Oh, hanging out with your girls.
Yeah, that's
this
is 30.
Kicking the hubby and the son aside.
I'm having a girls' dinner that involves no children or husbands.
Susie's like, I'm gonna go and use my parents' house while they're away in England, and I'm gonna have all the girls over, and hopefully you're gonna be okay with taking Tommy for the night. And I was like,
and then I'm gonna sleep there, child free.
It'll be your first night away from Tommy
ever. Can't wait. It's going to be the best night ever. I can't wait. So ready. I'm going to sleep until like 10.
You should. Take advantage. I'm going to take Tommy to run club this weekend. So
I actually feel like I'll probably wake up at fucking 6 a.m. and be like, fuck.
Super hungover, really uncomfortable. And you'll be like, why did I do this on my one night?
Yeah.
I feel like you actually really haven't drank much in the last 2 years because of obviously being pregnant. And then you really haven't drank much.
My 28th birthday was crazy.
Yeah, since then you really haven't drank much.
That was the last time I just had a massive bender. Like I drank all of the tequila that was at that bar.
Yeah. Yeah. That was
and
a wild
anyone who was listening to the podcast who was there for that birthday is like grinning right now because everybody drank like sailors.
Yeah. It was a pretty good time.
Yeah.
Anyways. On that note, let's talk about advanced athletes.
Let's talk about health.
Yeah. So in our previous podcast, we talked about the intermediate athlete.
Yes.
Coming away from being a beginner, categorizing yourself as an intermediate athlete. And now we're going to talk about the advanced athlete. And I should note, which I didn't in the previous podcast, but I should note that there is also another level, and we'll call that the elite category.
Like the pros.
We're talking pros. We're talking about people who do this
5%.
No, I'm going to say take it even further than
2%.
that. I'm going to say like the top percent, 1%.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
I was going to say 1%, but then I was being generous. And then, here we are. Top 1% is elite.
Elite, yeah. In which case, that's a whole other ball game. These are people who are doing this
as a job,
as a career, profession. They're getting paid to do this, or they have like really hard objectives. We're talking people that are trying to either make it to the Olympics for a sport, or make it to the top of whatever sport they're at, the CrossFit Games, marathon racing, all that stuff here. So today we're talking about advanced athletes, which might be a big bucket of our listeners here. And that is probably where Susie and I fit in to this category. And
who's like more advanced, would you say?
We are talking about this. I think last episode we said up to the 75th percentile.
Right.
So if you have like an open score that is between 75th percentile and 98th percentile, you are probably in the advanced category. Or you've been doing CrossFit at a much higher level for probably at least 300 sessions, either at CrossFit Max or at another CrossFit gym.
Especially at CrossFit Max.
Yeah. So if you're in the level system and you've now taken this more serious, then you've done at least 300 sessions of CrossFit training, and you're sitting somewhere in the category in the open level standard of 75th to 98th percentile worldwide. So what are the things that are going to take you,
or how are you going
to approach your training? And
I was going to say that.
Or even for our listeners who are not advanced, what takes me to the advanced category?
Or like differentiates an advanced athlete from like an intermediate or beginner athlete, other than obviously just higher skills.
Yeah. Well, higher skills is definitely going to be higher skills definitely going to be one of them, but yeah, it's also a big range, right? We're saying advanced, we're saying 75th to 98th percentile. There's a huge range from the 76th percentile to the person who is in the 95th percentile.
Right.
But that being said, we can kind of generalize certain things that you're doing in your training or in your life that help get you there or help advance you to your next level here.
Okay, so let's talk about like behaviors of an advanced athlete that would differentiate them from an intermediate athlete and lower. One simply being at least working out 5 times per week.
I would say it's a mandatory, not even a thought process, that you're working out five days per week. I'll say days,
right,
and not times, but 5 days in a week.
Right. So this is something that is like an extremely important part of your daily / weekly routine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're no longer even thinking about that process. You're no longer, should I go to the gym? Oh, I'm not feeling motivated.
A little tired.
Oh, I'm feeling not as recovered. Like, you're training no matter what 5 days per week.
100%.
Now, that's...
You're training on vacation.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's just like it's ingrained in who you are to be like hitting the gym.
Yeah. You're probably going on vacation and you're looking for CrossFit gyms or training ways that you can get your training in on the vacation.
Yeah.
So that is kind of the standard. It has now become such a deep-rooted habit of
part
yours,
of your identity.
And it really is part of your identity. So that's huge. And if you're not quite there yet, but you want it to be, you got to make it a non-negotiable in your life. Work, family.
You got to schedule it like an appointment.
It's gotta be consistent, and it's got to be a no-brainer for you. So if you want to get to that advanced level, you got to start there. It's got to be a non-negotiable that 5 days per week you're training.
Yeah. If you would like to upgrade your membership, just send us an email and we'll take care of it.
Yeah. One of those days needs to be a rest day. So one day where you're not actively pushing higher weights.
Yes.
Or harder training sessions. And so I would encourage at least one day of like no physical activity.
Right.
And then there can be arguments for that other day that you're not working out. It could be some sort of like, it could be a full-on rest day where you're actually not doing any like hard physical activity. Or it could be an active recovery day. But people need to understand that active recovery is very different than a training day.
Right.
The intensity is way down. We're not doing like compound lifts. We're not doing hard muscle contractions or repetitive muscle contractions. We are just getting our body at a really low intensity through movement and allowing our joints to get range of motion in them, to get them flowing, to get blood moving throughout the body here, getting the heart pumping up at a very low rate. So yeah, 5 hard days of training, mandatory 1 rest day, and then 1 optional rest day, which I would encourage that to be the go-to, or an active recovery day.
Wait, you could do 6 days of training, no?
I don't know about 6 hard days.
Okay.
I think that that's probably a good question. If you train hard on 6 days, then by the time you get to day 4, and if you can push really hard on day 4, then by day 5 there's a big diminution of return on the intensity that you can bring. And then you could potentially, it's not 100% going to happen, but you're not overtraining, because I don't believe in overtraining, but I think that there's the potential for risk of injury.
Okay.
You start to push things a little bit too much, and then things get a little bit tighter, get neglected, and then like that's where the active recovery comes into play. Like a little bit of movement, some stretching, some mobility work, like those are good active recovery days. But I don't think you should be training hard. I don't think the body can really sustain 6 days of hard intensity.
I like it. I'm nodding my head, and I realize this is a podcast and not a video. So yeah, that was me nodding my head, thinking. I was thinking about my personal training schedule.
Yeah. So The second thing is you're probably focusing a lot on recovery.
Yes.
So you're probably putting a big emphasis on your recovery. I can't remember if we spoke about this in the previous episode for the intermediate athlete, but I think the intermediate athlete is starting to be more conscious of what's going into their body, and they're starting to fuel for performance a little bit.
Yeah, we talked about that briefly. Yeah, for sure.
But the advanced athlete has some pretty good understanding of now what makes their body feel good, what foods they enjoy, what foods make them feel good, what foods make them feel sluggish.
Right.
And they're upping the intensity of the strictness of what's going into the system. And, we like to say this 80-20 rule, but if you're an advanced athlete, you're probably upping that 80-20 rule to more like a 90-10 rule.
What do you mean when you say like 80-20 in like very brief terms? Like 80% of the time you're eating extremely clean and 20% of the time you're living life.
Exactly.
Okay. I just want to make sure because some people might just hear 80-20 and be like, wait, what?
Yeah. And the 90-10 meaning you're eating much cleaner 90% of the time and you're giving yourself like a 10% wiggle room. This is probably being more mindful of like alcohol consumption. This is making sure that your supplements are dialed in. You're making sure you're getting creatine every single day.
Collagen, protein.
Getting your protein and collagen. You're making sure your magnesium is good. Your vitamin D is good.
Electrolytes.
Your omega-3s. Your protein intake throughout the day is on point, whether you're supplementing it or just getting it through food. You're making sure you're hitting adequate amount of protein on a daily basis. You're starting to look more at carbohydrates as fuel for your workouts to give you more energy to push harder in workouts.
100%.
Your diet is overall much cleaner. You're probably doing a little bit more research on the side for things that make you feel better and make you recover better. You're dialing in your sleep a little bit more, so you're making conscious decisions to go to bed earlier so you can get more hours of sleep, so you can recover more. And if you recover more, then you can train harder the next day in the gym. So the advanced athlete is definitely thinking well beyond the 60 minutes of training inside the gym.
Right.
They're thinking about the training session, and then they're thinking about the 23 hours outside the gym that they could improve on to help them inside the gym.
Yeah, like I feel like the advanced athlete's identity is an athlete. Like they view themselves, even if they're like an accountant during the day, you know what I mean? But like they view themselves as an athlete, and therefore they treat their body as an athlete would, which is making sure you're doing all of the things to care for it. You're not just thinking like, oh, I go to CrossFit 4 times a week to get a workout. It's like, no, I'm an athlete, and part of being an athlete is like my CrossFit training, but that's not the only part of the training.
Yeah. So let's talk about the actual training itself, like what they're focusing on within the session. And obviously we talked about pushing the intensity from a beginner to an intermediate. You're starting to kind of play around with, pushing the needle, figuring out
being strategic,
where the limits are. You're starting to understand strategy while tackling, strength pieces and also conditioning pieces. An advanced athlete now knows where their kind of limits are. They've kind of built this understanding. They've been past
them before.
Yeah, they've been past them many times before, and they've learned.
Yeah, they've finished workouts where they thought, oh, shoot, I left some in the tank.
Yep.
They've experienced lots of different variations of like finding their comfort or discomfort zone, the zone that they're able to tolerate for how long.
Yeah. They're also they've now accumulated a lot of data.
Yes.
As well. So hopefully now they've accumulated, 300 plus sessions of training data. So they have more strength metrics, they have more conditioning metrics. And from there, when they approach their strength sessions, they're approaching it before even getting to the
knowing
workouts.
Exactly the game plan.
Yeah. Or roughly, because sometimes you show up to the game plan and you're like, I was going to do this, but my body's feeling like this instead.
Right.
But they have a rough idea and a rough guide
of their numbers.
Okay, last week I did this for 5x5 back squat. Well, now it's 5x4 back squat. So I know almost to a T where I'm going
to be starting. Yeah,
exactly where I'm starting, where I want to take the 5 sets. So you have a lot more data, and you know how you feel. You're more in tune with your body, and you can attack these strength pieces a lot more strategic, rather than just thinking, oh, I'm going to push a little bit more now and see what happens. You kind of have a better understanding of how the body is going to react and how it feels. And you know exactly what your numbers were for the previous session or the one before that. And now you've kind of built up, and you know, okay, like today I'm doing this. If things feel better or they sometimes feel worse, then I need to adapt and go here.
Yeah. You have like a very clear understanding of your capabilities. And then obviously there's going to be fluctuations based on like life factors, whether you didn't get a good sleep or you didn't eat well or whatever, you have a little cold or something like that. But I feel like with the advanced athlete, when the coach is explaining the workout, that athlete knows exactly what number dumbbell they're going to grab based on the coach's explanation. Well, most of the time I assume an advanced athlete is probably going to grab the prescribed weight. But even if they're not, if the coach is explaining the workout and they're saying like, you're going to grab a heavy dumbbell for these push press, that advanced athlete knows exactly what they mean when they say heavy. They're like, for me, heavy is like whatever, 40 pounds, something like that. Versus like a more intermediate or beginner athlete, they're like, oh, I'm not quite sure. I'm going to have to try out a few weights and see which one is for me. The
intermediate athlete knows. A beginner's not sure at all, and intermediate kind of knows, but their objective is to kind of push.
To experiment going out of that zone. Yeah. And the advanced athlete is like, okay, well, this is the dumbbell that I have to pick, and I know it.
Yep. That's a very good way of putting it.
Thank you.
So the other thing that an advanced athlete is probably doing is going beyond the 60 minutes of training.
Yeah, that is where I was going to go with that too.
Most likely the advanced athlete is doing just a bit more, whether that's accessory work after class, whether that's a strength focus and they're working on their weaknesses. An advanced athlete is not scared to know where their weakness is. They're not just favoring the stuff that they're good at. They're now understanding what I don't want to say bad at, but what they need to work on.
Yeah.
And they're actually working towards improving it. So they're spending time after class working on their gymnastics. They're spending time after class working on their strength. They've maybe even hired a coach for extra work on the side to help understand where those weaknesses are, to help develop the strength and to have guidance on certain things that they want to improve on.
Yes. So
the advanced athlete is definitely working beyond that 60-minute session.
Yeah. Yeah. And completely on that exact line of thought, the advanced athlete is probably seeking out events, whether that's CrossFit competitions or signing up for races or doing high rocks or something like that. They are athletes that are not just coming to the gym those couple days a week and getting a workout. You know, they're seeking challenges beyond like the group classes. So getting out of their comfort zone, getting competitive, putting themselves in a position where they get to test their fitness. Yes. Which is just like you said, going beyond those classes, but not just in a training scenario, in a testing scenario as well.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. I want to bring it back to group training though. So our training, and then I want to come back to the fitness stuff after.
Sorry, did I get too excited?
You got way too excited for me, love.
Okay, I'll let you bring it back.
So, before we talked about how many days they're training versus how many sessions they're training, right? So we said times, that was the word we used. So like they're not training 5 times in a week. Advanced athletes are not just training in those like blocks. They might be doing extra sessions as well. meaning they might have a 2-a-day session. Maybe they might have like a run and a CrossFit training session in the same day. They might do mobility, so maybe a yoga session or a CrossFit session followed by a yoga session. Right. So they're having like a structured plan and action where they're going beyond just that 60-minute training session to help get them to the next level here. And yeah, so I just want to cover that base before we go on to the competition
before
stuff.
I got way too excited and took us completely off course there.
Anything else you want to say based on the training that advanced athletes are doing? I'd probably also say that maybe they're seeking things as well. They're seeking outside research.
Yeah, so like their algorithm on TikTok is pumping them with muscle up tips or something like that, hypothetically, depending on who you are.
Yeah, exactly. They're definitely YouTube searching things on how to improve this, and TikTok and Instagram Reels and stuff. For sure. And then actually applying that stuff, right? So
they're posting their own.
Maybe they're posting their own, for sure.
Honestly.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So
anyone can post about it. Like, that doesn't make you advanced, but I feel like it's more tempting. The more ingrained it is in your identity, the more present it's going to be on your own social media as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's just a random little nugget. Definitely not a requirement.
Yeah. Have you posted recently?
Yeah, I've been posting a lot more fitness stuff recently. Well, that's because I'm not like pregnant and like whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so outside competitions. So outside you're seeking challenge.
Yeah, you're seeking some way of testing your fitness and bringing yourself to that place that you don't go to often in training on purpose, but like seeing where you're at, like getting yourself extremely uncomfortable, getting competitive, getting that adrenaline rush, sending yourself to a dark place or whatever you want to call it. We like to call it the dark place, but
yeah, pushing beyond.
Some people
your limit.
maybe it's the light place. I don't know.
I don't know if people love going into that light place.
I don't know. I just feel like we're so ultra positive, but then we always talk about going to the dark place. But I'm like, I don't know. I just feels
the dark
like
place is a good place.
It's like where goals are beaten.
Yeah, limits are smashed. You learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah, but like, should we rebrand it, or are we just keeping it the dark place?
No, we're definitely keeping it the dark place.
It does feel right to call it the dark place.
Yeah, the dark place is not it's not a negative. It's a very positive. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about your physicality. You learn a lot about your mental, emotional as well. How are you going to handle the hardship emotionally? Are you going to cave in? Are you going
You know what? You're leaning into another thing, but I don't want to pivot again because I pivoted before. But yeah, so this advanced athlete is seeking out competition in some format.
Yep. Because they want to put their hard work to the test.
Exactly.
And what that also allows more structure in your training plan.
1,000%.
So whether you have a half marathon and you want to do like a 16 or 20 week training block leading up to that, whether you have a high rocks and you want to spend 12 weeks building up towards the high rocks, whether you have a CrossFit competition coming up in the summer, or you have a partner or a team CrossFit competition coming up, being able to train towards those. Usually those competitions give standards for movements, and you have to either choose categories, which category you want to be in. Yeah. So, or you're definitely signing up for the Open, the CrossFit Open, and trying to showcase your fitness on a worldwide basis.
Yeah. And like you're trying to beat yourself also. Yep. Like you have a good understanding of like where you were and where you want to be. And so in those tests like the Open, maybe you're trying to get in a higher percentage rating than like a previous year or something like that.
Yeah, maybe we can touch on that also, is that sometimes people think that advanced athlete means competition towards other people. Like, I need to be better than that person next to me. But I don't ever view it like that. For sure, there's this sense of like friendly competition, and you want to push yourself, and you want to see a really good score. If you told me, hey, if you're going to work really hard for 16 weeks, and you're either going to finish 5,000th in the half marathon, or you're going to finish first in the half marathon, absolutely, if I had the choice, I would choose the first. But
Yes.
But what I'm trying to do while training for something like this is that I'm trying to do what I can control, and that's train the best that I can. And it's not about me being better than the person next to me. It's about me being the best version of myself and creating a structured plan that leads up to a lot of hard work, a lot of hardship throughout the process. Again, not just physical hardship, but mental hardship and emotional hardship, where your legs are really sore one day and then you got to get up the next day and you got to hit the training session and you got to bring that intensity and you got to go to that dark place.
Yeah.
But emotionally, you want to tell yourself to back off. But then mentally, you tell yourself, no, like I have something that I'm dedicated towards. I have something I've signed up for, and I know that this hardship, I'm gonna overcome it, and I'm gonna be better at the other end of it.
Yeah,
and then when it comes race day or game day, I'm gonna be ready to go.
100%. I think that you just hit the nail on the head of like somebody that is an advanced athlete has a different type of mindset when they are approaching their training. So I actually think that an advanced athlete's mindset is not genuinely concerned about their ranking beside someone else in the class. They're actually very acutely aware and realistic about their capabilities to themselves, and that they want to feel that they did their best. And so like, of course, there's like friendly competition, you know, like even Jason and I today, we were like playfully racing each other. That's fun. But at the end of the day, what makes an athlete like Jason and myself advanced is that we're actually very aware of what our real capabilities are. And we're not setting ourselves targets or goals that are beyond that. Yeah. And we know at the end, if we have accomplished like our goal of pushing ourselves, you know what I mean? Like, let's just say this example, like we raced each other today, Jason and I, on a 400-meter run. But I know, like, I'm not stupid. Jason is way faster than me. You know, like it's fun and it's like teasing each other and we like to race, you know what I mean? But I'm able to know like, oh shit, that was a really good 400 for me, even if I was like way behind him. You know what I mean?
Way behind him. A couple seconds behind him.
A few, like, but a clear distinction that he was a decent chunk in front of me. But I'm just saying, my point being is that I like to be playfully competitive, but I'm not unrealistic about it. You know, like I feel like being advanced is having a realistic understanding. Also, realistic understanding of when I know I can totally crush him. You know what I mean? Like, it's not thinking like less of myself, not downplaying my capabilities. It's just being ultra realistic about my own capabilities and being correct about them. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like some people, you know, they're like, oh, like I'm not advanced because I can't do that. But then they like go do it. Yeah. You know, it's not that either. It's really being just like an ultra realistic and ultra clear on your own capabilities.
Yeah.
Like having a deep understanding.
And going back to the previous point about just being competitive with yourself and not necessarily the people around you, it's that if you bring yourself to that level, and what you're doing is you're bringing everyone up around
100%.
you. And sometimes people think that, oh, like this person is just being competitive and they're just going to throw everyone off. It's like, no, I want Susie and Jason in my class to be pushing each other, because if they're pushing each other, then I know that they're getting more out of it.
100%.
I know that the people around them are getting more out of it. And so when I'm in a workout, and you're trying to be more advanced, you're trying to push yourself so that other people around you also want to be motivated. Pushing and motivated and want to elevate their level around you. So it's not about, like when you're an advanced athlete, it's not about being competitive with the people around you. It's being about competitive with the person within, and then hopefully bringing up the people around you so that they feel like they can
contagious.
Get to that level. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think that's what I was trying to say. Like, I feel like being advanced is having the right mindset around your training, rising up to the challenges, being mentally prepared to attack challenges, and being mentally prepared to like compete with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So what's the other thing you want to pivot to? Did you forget?
Wait. I don't know. Can't remember. Obviously, it wasn't that important, and if I can't remember.
Okay.
Is there something else you wanted us to say? Take it away, baby.
I would definitely say that the more advanced athlete is doing two major things. And that's number one, developing higher skills.
Yes.
So coming away from just pressing a barbell overhead, they're now jerking a barbell overhead, right? They're learning the mechanics and the higher skill of the Olympic lifts. They're learning the skill of more advanced gymnastics, bar muscle ups, ring muscle ups, chest to bars, handstand push-ups. They're starting to really understand higher skills and developing the strength and the technique in those skills. And when you see an advanced athlete in a gym, you see that they're working hard, but it looks effortless. So you're seeing someone move and you're like, wow, that didn't even look hard. And that's because they're just cycling a barbell really well, or they're up on top of the rings and they are moving really well on those rings and they're just flying in those ring muscle ups. And it just looks like they could do 20 in a row. But after 5, they come down from the rings and you look at them and you're like, why did you stop at 5? And you're like, because I'm tired. Because that was hard to do 5, but it just looks effortless while they're doing that. And then the second thing they're doing is they're really, really working hard at their movement economy. So how well they're moving in their movements.
Yes.
So they've really put an emphasis on doing the little things really well. Meaning when they do their burpees, they have a rhythmic look to their burpees. When they're doing barbell cycling, when they're doing hang cleans, it just looks like they're in this flow with the barbell. When they're doing gymnastics, their toes are pointed together and glued together. There's no little faults in their body position when they're doing gymnastics, right? So the person who is advanced is really focusing on their movement economy, and a movement economy means that they're being ultra efficient at every little part of their movement.
Okay, so they're not like using extra energy on incorrect things.
Yeah, just think of like you were trying to run 1 kilometer.
Right.
And instead of, just, putting one foot in front of the other, you kind of put like one foot out to the side and then the other foot out to the side, and you kind of look like a goofball while you're running, right?
Yeah.
You would look very silly in a run if you were kind of like wobbling side to side, right?
Yes.
Versus just moving your body in a fluid state where one foot goes in front of the other, right? But for some people who start CrossFit and have never run before, sometimes we get that where they just don't have the economy, and running it's a very visual movement, right? We see it on a much lower scale when we give people a barbell, right? People who can't get into a front rack position, people whose elbows really struggle to get up and get the bar on the shoulders, people who get into a squat and really struggle to get low into the bottom of the squat. They have to fight really, really hard. Or people who are doing, let's say, push jerks, for example, because we'll use push jerk because that's one of the that's one of our priorities in this 12-week training block at CrossFit Max. And it's rebounding the bar from one rep to the next, right? So when you see someone like Frank last week, when you see Frank do his push jerks, who has done CrossFit for 10 years, you can see that when he dips, jumps, and catches that bar over his head, when the bar comes down, he times it so well where he rebends his knees as the barbell hits his shoulders and then pops back up right to the next one.
Yeah.
And then he does that
it's like a little slingshot.
Yeah, he does that for 5 reps in a row. And he finishes it and re-racks it, and you can see he's out of breath. He's
right. It's like cardio.
And then people are like, man, that looked really, really good. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, where you see someone and you think that the movement economy, like he moved so well.
It looks effortless.
But then it looks effortless. Then you see him and he's like, ooh, that was hard. And then for the beginner or intermediate, they might think, well, it didn't look hard, right? And that's because you're now becoming an advanced athlete where it still is hard, but you're moving so efficiently. Where if Frank moved inefficiently, well, maybe he wouldn't have been able to do 180 pounds on the push jerk for 5 reps. If he was inefficient, meaning he was dipping down and he wasn't staying on his heels, he was like going up on his toes, his knees were shooting forward, his hips were shooting forward, his back is slightly leaned back now. And then when he goes to fully extend his body, now the barbell is projecting forward rather than upwards. And then that takes a lot of extra energy, and you wouldn't be able to lift 180 pounds doing that.
It's the equivalent of running backwards.
Yes. So movement economy is something that advanced athletes are doing really well. And this is something that intermediate athletes should start to focus on. Yeah. Even like timing of the wall ball. Well, when I throw my ball up to the target, what am I doing with my hands? Are my hands up there to catch it again? Are my hands next to my face to catch it again? Are my hands down by my waist and I'm not ready to catch that ball yet, right? Where are my hands? And then when do I time my squat? Do I catch the ball first and then squat down? Or do I start to squat just a little bit as that ball's about to go right into my hands here as I catch it and ride it down here, right? So intermediate athletes to advanced athletes, this is something
you're like fine-tuning movements.
Yeah, you're just fine-tuning the movements, getting into a nice burpee rhythm, right? One foot in front of the other, second foot gets in front, and then immediately jumps either laterally or forward.
Right. And I think that is obviously an outcome of being coached for 300 plus classes, right? When you're learning the movement, like when you're learning the push jerk, the goal is to just get the fucking bar up, you know? And then as you refine and as you get coaching tips every week, you know, you get little things to work on. You can start building up an understanding as you experience, oh, when I do this, this happens. You know, it's just like, it's literally just, you have to put in the time and the experience is going to come from it. Yeah. And then, you know, you become more efficient. The more wall balls you do, the better you're going to get at wall balls.
Absolutely. And the better you get at wall balls, the more wall balls you're going to be able to do.
Yeah.
And then the better CrossFitter you're going to become.
100%.
And the more advanced you're going to be.
Wall balls are the key to success in life.
So that's
if you take one thing from this podcast, guys, more wall balls.
That's all I got from the advanced. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add to that. I think that was pretty well rounded. We kind of just spoke around the topic, but I feel like the biggest takeaways are really just your like identity as an athlete, your mindset and approach to your training, and then the experience that comes from doing it all the time, which you can only get by like spending time in it. You know, you can't start out advanced.
Nope. Unfortunately,
you literally just have to put in the hours and hours of training to get you there.
Yeah.
I actually feel like even myself, you know, I know I'm considered advanced now. Yeah, I'm a beginner. No, but, you know, it's so hard to redefine your identity in a sport when, you know, I feel like when we met, it's crazy. We were just saying it's been 7 years. You kind of forced me to start CrossFit around then. And in my head, you know, CrossFit was your thing. Yeah. And like I joined it. But now it's been so much time. It's like, it's my thing too, obviously. But like, you know, you just have to start to examine your own identity and be like, oh yeah, like it's true. I've been doing it for years. And I am advanced now. Sometimes it's hard to see yourself in a certain light And then you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, you know, I have videos of myself when I was like getting my first ever kipping pull up, and my like kip is all out of whack and a weird timing. And it doesn't even feel like me when I look at the video. And now it's like I could kip in my sleep.
Yeah. And what you've done is you've been ultra consistent.
Right.
Minimum 5 days of training per week.
Yeah.
You spent time outside the 60 minutes doing extra stuff, and you've worked a lot on the outside behaviors. So your lifestyle, your food,
right.
and the energy that's going into your body that helps the energy for performance and outside 100%. The gym. And then what you've done really, really well in is improved on your movement economy.
Yeah.
So the quality of your movement so going back to that pull-up.
Right.
Like if you look at your first kipping pull-up, and when you're trying to do your first and second kipping pull-up, you're like, man, like I'm just flailing around on that pull-up bar. I look all goofy and shit.
I look
versus
like a crazy
now,
person.
When you look, you're like, your body is tight in that hollow and arched position. You have like a way in which you're kipping, that you're moving with purpose, and it's for sure you're much stronger now than when you had that pull up. For sure, there's no doubt about that. But the effort is also less because I'm using the kip properly. Exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's not that you got, let's just say, 15x stronger. It's that maybe you've gotten 5x stronger or 3x stronger.
Right.
But you can do 15x more the reps because the economy of your movement and the efficiency of your movement is like night and day difference.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
That was a great summary.
Boom. And then last thing I would maybe just add to that, because you mentioned that, is that you're turning 30 years old this weekend. And I don't know about you, but I would say you're probably the fittest you've ever been in your life. Yeah. And it was interesting.
I also think it's crazy that I'm the fittest I've ever been in my whole life. 10 months postpartum.
Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah. and I think one last thing to add to this topic is that maybe sometimes people think that because they're this age that they can never be advanced. And again, going back to the same point that we always make, is that age literally is just a number. And even today I had a free trial, and he was saying like, oh, like I'm 34 years old. I know I'm past my prime. And I'm like, whoa, 34 years old, like that's still
unacceptable,
very, very young, you know?
Yes.
And it's not to
30s is extremely young.
Yeah, 30, like it's not that this person, it's just, in this situation, you just have to help make this person understand that, hey, if you commit to living and making changes,
you're going to be fitter at 35 than you've ever been.
You're going to be the fittest you've ever been. Like you said, at 34, 35 years old, than you were at 25 years old. It's like, sure, if you were a workout freak since you did sports at a young age, at like 4 years old, you started a sport, and you were ultra competitive throughout your whole childhood, your whole teenage years, and even into your early adult life. And then you started CrossFit at your early 20s. It's like, yeah, for sure. Your prime is going to be in your late 20s. The best physical prime you'll ever be will be in your late 20s. But that's not the case for most people.
For most people, that is so not the case.
Especially if you have never worked out your whole life. And we have people starting their first workouts in their 40s. Yeah. And in their mid 40s, they're like, man, I'm in the best shape of my life right now. And I'm 40s or even in my 50s right now. And
I just think that there's no reason to put yourself in a box.
So if you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking, oh, well, I'm too old to be an advanced athlete, that's totally not true. You don't have to be young to be an advanced athlete. There's different variables in the situation, but you could be an advanced athlete. Look at I always love to refer your dad, but your dad's 66 years old. Your dad is an advanced athlete. Extremely at 66 years old, you know? And some might argue that he's in the
He's definitely in the elite category for his age.
Yeah, like he's in the elite category for his age. And maybe not even just for his age, but just elite category, period. At 66 years old, he's crushing records and everything. So
yeah, it's a bit annoying because he's just killing life at 66.
Yeah. So anyways, just wanted to kind of finish on that note because it kind of popped up in a trial we had today with a client and you kind of just we briefly talked about your birthday, and you mentioned that, so it kind of clicked for me that I wanted to mention that.
I think that, you know, like I've been someone who's been in sports my whole life, not competitive, like ultra competitive or anything, but I'm definitely the fittest now than I've ever been, and like I'm not getting any younger.
Yeah. Okay, let's end this podcast the way we always do, with client of the week.
Pew, 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 pew.
Now, last week we named a certain client
Max
that has the same name as our gym. And this week it is not that client that we're going to name. It is a different Max. It is our OG client, Max.
Yo, Max.
I'm naming
Accountant Max.
Accountant Max, not 19-year-old teenage Max. But
we love all the Maxes.
We love all the Maxes. And I'm going to name, we're calling out Max's client of the week. And there's a few people that I really want to name. And I feel like this was an important one for this week, because I've had the opportunity to coach Max for many years now, the better part of a decade, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Wow.
And like you said, Max is an accountant, and I've been on this, what do you call it when you just like the same
cycle?
Thing always repeats over and over again? What do you call that? Yeah, no, there's a word where like what's the day called?
Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day. It's almost like Groundhog Year with Max here, and I'll explain. Every year, Max crushes his fitness, and then what he does is he takes on personal income taxes for people.
Yeah, don't hit him up. He's busy.
It's like a second job.
He's booked and busy, guys.
And he gets crazy busy in the month of like late February
until April 30th.
Like the end of April, and he just gives up on his fitness entirely. And I'm sorry I'm calling you out, Max, on this podcast. I'm just telling people what's happened. But it's been like this every single year. And every single year I've tried to convince him to not give up on his fitness for those 6 to 8 weeks of the year. And this year, he's made a difference. He hasn't given up on his fitness. He hasn't given up on his CrossFit.
Accountant Max is here to stay.
He's making mindful decisions in his food. And we had a really good conversation today. It's because in the past, he would just literally stop exercising because he was working working crazy hours. He's working from 6, 7 a.m. until bedtime at night, right? And all for 6 to, or even 8 weeks straight. Hustling. And this year he made some changes, and he gave up his CrossFit completely, and this year he's kept it up. He's been coming to the 6 a.m. classes. 6
a.m. Yeah, I get to see him.
He's been making his sessions in. He's also been mindful of his nutrition, and we had this great talk today, and that he said not only before would I just stop exercising, but I would also start eating like crap, and I would be putting on weight, and then I would get like emotionally and mentally like off. Like I would just feel a lot of like negative emotions and feel almost like depressed during that period. And then
that's so tough.
I would also imagine like as you're gaining weight and as you're not doing exercise and as you're physically like working at a desk from wake up till bedtime.
Yeah. Your body can't feel good.
Your body's not feeling great. And then you're also thinking, oh man, I'm going to have to go through those periods of suffering again.
Yeah. Like the comeback is not easy when you're out of it for a while, and you know what it feels like because you're in a cycle of doing it every year.
And there's a visual difference from Max in February to Max in May every single year. And this year, it's been awesome. He's made some life adjustments so that he can still fit in his CrossFit. And he's put a really big effort. And I know that that's a big effort and a big deal for him. And he's kept up his training. He's made better mindful choices outside the gym. And there's no visual difference, and it's almost the end of April right now.
If anything, he's getting shreddier by the day.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And also, Max is just a fun client to be working with.
Lovely.
He's going to be starting a running program with Papa Miller,
Coach Allen.
Coach Allen, which is the same person, by the way.
If anyone was wondering, Papa Miller and Allen and Coach Allen, all the same person.
Your dad.
Dad to me, all the same person.
But yeah, he's starting a running program in a couple weeks.
May 5th.
To get ready for a half marathon. So, and he's also doing some triathlons as well.
That's some advanced athlete shit right there.
Yeah. And he's just been a really fun athlete to be working with. And I felt myself very fortunate to be working with an athlete for this long. You know, it's rare that you get to say you're working with an athlete for better part of a decade, and it's pretty cool. I've been working with Max for the better part of a decade, and he's been an incredible human being that I've gone to work out with and coach along the way. So, and we always kind of joke that we only named the gym after him, but
we did. We did.
Anyways, guys, we hope that you enjoyed this episode.
Wonder which Max is going to be client of the week next week.
Luckily, we're out of Maxes
for now.
There's several people that I was really having a hard time to choose from, but I felt like this was really owed to Max because I know how big of a deal this was to him. But
yeah, he's crushing it.
We're gonna have to just start naming multiple clients of the week. Multiples. Anyways, we hope that you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you give us a rating and a review. It helps get our message out to some new people out there. And we appreciate each and every one of you guys. We'll catch you in the next one. See ya.
Bye.